to come out of closed session and back into open session. Ms. Sawyer, would you give us a roll call?
Dr. Denave Robinson,
Yes.
Ms. Sharon Warden,
Yes.
Mr. George Archuleta,
Yes.
Ms. Virginia Houston,
Yes.
Mr. Walter Jolly,
Yes.
Ms. Pam Pereza, Dr. Sheila Williams.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. The motion carries. Now that we're back in open session, we'll ask for our superintendent's report. Superintendent Edmonds.
Good evening, Chair Robinson, Vice Chair Warden, and board members. I am going to share with you for my superintendent's report this evening some updates on our return to campus efforts. But before we go to the return to campus updates, I would like to share with the board and the public our Elizabeth City Pasquotank Public Schools Principal of the Year. And our Principal of the Year for the 2020-2021 school year is Principal Delisha Moore. As you can see, she moved and I thought she was out of the room. I didn't see that she was over on this end. So if Principal Moore, if you would just stand so we can give you a congratulations. And as you can see from the PowerPoint, a few things about Principal Moore. Principal Moore was the Elizabeth City Pasquotank Public Schools District Teacher of the Year for the 2008-2009 school year. Her favorite childhood book is the Dr. Seuss series. The favorite school lunch is orange chicken with fried rice. Her favorite subject is math, and some of the hobbies and activities that she enjoys is singing, which I did not know. That's good to know. So maybe she will perform for us at some point. Playing with her grandchildren and watching football. And a fun fact is that she is a twin, and her mother didn't know she was having twins until she was born. So thank you, Principal Moore, and congratulations. And you will hear from Principal Moore a little later this evening as part of the superintendent's update. She will share social emotional learning that she's providing for the students at Elizabeth City Middle School. So now I'll get back to our updates for the return to campus. And just to refresh our memory on some of the things that are taking place is that the pre-K 5 students return to campus on October 19th. Our middle schools will return on November 2nd, and our high school will return November 9th. And we are still providing the option of remote learning for those families who choose to have their students learn virtually. And this is the schedule, and our pre-K 5 students have been in our buildings 4 days out of the week, with Wednesday being the remote day. And the same will be for our middle school in terms of having Wednesday as a remote day, but we will have cohort A and cohort B for our middle schools. And for our high schools, we are looking at the block schedule. So we'll have first block on Mondays, second block on Tuesday, third block on Thursday, and fourth block on Fridays. And this is to help cut down on the transition time or the transition in between our classes. And we are in partnership with Albemarle Regional Health Service, as well as the ABC Science Collaborative. We meet with the Albemarle Regional Health Service on the regional level with our other school districts that are within our region, and we share out what things are working, what are some things that are still challenges, and for those schools that will be coming into returning to campus after us, we can provide some support for them. And the ABC Science Collaborative is the team of doctors from Duke, epidemiologists, infectious disease doctors, and pediatricians whose specialty is infectious diseases. So with both of these partners, we've been able to really think through how do we return to campus. So now we're going to look at where are we in our return to campus? And because that's kind of small, I'll read these numbers out to you. For our pre-K students, we have 60 students that are face-to-face with a total population of pre-K of 111 students. That's about 54% of our pre-K students are back on campus. For Central Elementary School, we have about 49% of our students back on campus, and that's 149 students out of the 303 in the total population. For J.C. Sawyer, we have 51% of our students that are back on campus, so that equates to 175 students. For Northside Elementary, we have 219 students back on campus, which is about 51% of the student population. For Pasquotank Elementary, we have 124 students that are back on our campus, about 47%. And P.W. Moore, we have 173 students on campus, which is 49% of their student population. And for Sheep Harney, we have 96 students, which is about 22% of their total student population. And for Weeksville Elementary, we have 129 students out of the total student population of 208, 62% of their students. And I know we originally said that we would wait for any parent who wanted to go from virtual back into the classroom, that we would wait until the second semester. Our principals saw the need, and as they saw that there was some shifting in the numbers, created wait list. And so students who are on that wait list, as a slot becomes available, they call the parents and have that slot filled. So our principals are trying to get as many students back onto the campus as possible, but in a very safe manner and following all of the safety protocols. Okay, so in preparation for a return to campus, we provided a district level guidebook, and our schools at the elementary level, they have a school level guidebook. So we provided a framework for our principals, and they could go in and put in what does that mean or look like on the individual school campuses. They had mask pickup, parent meetings were held at both the school and district level in staff training. So these are some things that we did with the elementary schools as we prepared to return to campus. And you'll see some of these same things in the preparation for our middle schools and our high schools as well. So what were some of the things that were challenges as we look to return to campus? I did have some celebrations in here, and I don't know if that slide has gotten pushed down, so I'm going to talk about those celebrations. And there were several of us working in this PowerPoint at the same time. So before I go to the challenges, I'm going to talk about what are some of the celebrations that we have. Well, one of those celebrations is that staff and students were excited to be back on campus. When we walked through the hallways, they were really excited. And our students really held to our safety protocols. And so thankful to our parents for helping us and supporting us with ensuring that their students were in compliance with the safety protocols. And one thing that's a celebration that you see as a challenge up here was to cut down on the time that it was taking for the drop off and the pickup at the schools. So it's a celebration now, but it was a challenge earlier on in the week. And so now looking at what are our challenges, the length of time for the drop off and pickup. On the first day, we had several schools that the drop off time was about 45 minutes. And by day 2, that went down to 30 minutes. And now we're at most of our schools having a drop off of about 20 minutes or less. And part of that was due to the next challenge, which was completing the attestation forms or the health screening forms. And what we realized, we were calling them attestation forms, and in Parent Square, they were named health screening forms. And so that gap was part of the reason. And then we were cutting the time off at 7 o'clock. So if a parent waited to fill out the form at 7, it was locked. So we're ensuring that our parents do have more time. So if they want to complete that on the way to the school building, they can. Something else that's a challenge and is mask compliance for staff. So ensuring that not that staff does not have on a mask, but ensuring that we're wearing our mask properly to cover the nose, the mouth, and the chin. So we know that if we have the 3 W's in place, then that provides additional protection so that if we do or when we do, because we know we're going to have times when we either have a staff member or a student that may contract COVID in the community, but if they come into our schools, we're trying to mitigate that spread. So we make sure we're wearing our mask properly, doing our hand hygiene, and staying socially distanced. Then we can be that school district that, although the numbers are rising in the community, our schools are safe for our students to be in and our staff. And another piece that's a challenge, our teachers are working through this, is teaching in a blended model. So having your students, those that are in your classroom that are face-to-face, but you also have those students that are at home. So and I had one teacher, and we're going to be completely transparent because although these are challenges for us, there are also opportunities for us to improve our practice and do the work more effectively and efficiently. And one teacher said to me, she said, I totally just forgot about the students that were online because I was looking at the ones that were in front of me, and it was the first day and I wanted to make sure I did it well. And so, but lesson learned, making sure that we're paying attention to both. And Dr. Spencer and her team have provided a framework, but the first day and everyone is kind of jittery about things going well. And so those are some of the things that our principals are working on with our staff and that we recognize. Okay, and our middle school will be the next group that will go in. So I want to give you an update before I hand it over to the next presenters, and I'll share with you who's coming up to present. So as we're looking at preparation for our middle schools returning, you will see that some of the same things that we've done with our elementary schools, that we are providing those same services and resources for our middle schools. So our principals are meeting with all of their staff to ensure that they understand the safety protocols. They've been visiting with the elementary schools because now our elementary principals are experts in this effort. They're the first ones to return to campus in a pandemic. And so our middle school and secondary and our high school principals are now visiting with our elementary schools and their staff to find out what are those things that worked very well, what are those things we need to think about. And I must mention that our principals across all grade spans have been collaborating and working together. And so they are all been a part of this, so they get to see it in implementation now. And our parents are picking up the packets that include like the face mask and any information that they need to be prepared for that first day. And both high schools are having their parent meetings. And Ms. King will talk a little bit later, but the transportation routes are being developed. Supplies from maintenance are arriving at the schools, and the thermal thermometers have been installed. And I don't know if you all saw the demonstration, but to go into the school and now see all of this at work and being implemented, it was really nice to see that. And so how are the numbers looking at our middle schools? So at Elizabeth City Middle School, and this is the chart that I shared with you at the previous board meeting for our elementary schools. So when we look at grades 6, 7, and 8, so the capacity for Elizabeth City Middle in each of the grade spans is 96 students. That's with social distancing in each of the classrooms. And you can see that the number of classrooms that they have is 8. The number of students that they can have in each of those classrooms is 12, and it's based on the size of the classroom. And their current student count is 84. So they have 12 open slots, but at this time they have to stop on the wait list until we get back into the building because it takes some time to actually get the transportation, the bus route set up for the students. And for 7th grade, they currently have 71 students that are wanting to come back onto campus or return to campus. So they have 25 slots available. And for 8th grade, they have 80 students whose parents have chosen for them to return to campus, leaving them with 16 slots. And that's a total population of 614 students total, not that are just returning to campus. For River Road Middle School, for grade 6, the number of students whose parents have chosen some face-to-face instruction for them is 64, and they have 32 slots that are available at that 6th grade level. For 7th grade, they have 78, so they are actually over, and they are trying to work through that to see if they can make some accommodations. And I think they will be able to probably work that out, but we'll have to see what that would look like. They have talked about the possibility of being able to share some spaces at each of the middle schools. And for 8th grade, we have 65 students that are requesting some face-to-face. And so they have 7 slots that are still open. So are there any questions before I turn this over? The next piece that we're going to have is Ms. Reed is going to share what we're doing around the district level for social emotional learning, because as we've always said, and I said at the beginning, is that our students are coming back to us very different than when they left us, and the same for our staff. So Ms. Reed will talk about this from the district perspective, and then Principal Moore, our principal of the year, will talk about what does that look like at the school level. And then Ms. James Davis will come with the human resources piece and have her staff members that will present as well. Ms. Antoinette Reed is on Ms. James Davis's staff, but her PowerPoint just came at a time that flowed better for me to introduce her. And then I'll come back to you at the end for any additional questions that you may have.
Okay, good evening. Board Chair, Dr. Robinson, Vice Board Chair, Mrs. Warden, and Superintendent, Dr. Edmonds. In student services, we are striving to help others to avoid jumping to labels instead of taking the time to listen to a person's story. One of the stories often heard is parents struggling to provide their children with the education they deserve. Providing families with access and resources to be learning partners helps to make social and emotional support and learning a high priority. Supporting the well-being of families is also a high priority. So establishing community partnerships and beyond makes it possible to address the needs of the whole child, as well as creating a much needed balance between equality and equity. There are several local resources for parents in our community, so the list provided for your viewing is inconclusive. One of these, as you see at the top, is the Albemarle Alliance for Children and Families. This organization offers a variety of self-help programs for families, such as nurturing parenting, children with special needs, and PPP virtual seminars. These links are added to the Family and Community Resource Center's Twitter page and embedded under its current link on the ECPPS district website. This partnership enables the possibility of parent-to-parent support groups, and workshops. A few other benefits of the resources listed include wonderful ideas to support social and emotional learning for children, resource tools to help parents adjust to new ways of learning, resources for parents of children with ADHD, and mindfulness strategies for parents. One other extended resource that isn't listed but is accessible to us is Tots Family. This is a resource for parents juggling a busy family. From the feedback often received from parents, time is definitely one of the major hurdles in family engagement with schools. As we move forward, we are striving to champion equity and diversity and to value and support families as decision makers. We will, because regarding the work that we do to educate our children and to increase self-efficacy with our parents, we will create purpose for them. We will invite them. We will support them. We will respect them. And more importantly, we will thank them. So at the end of the day, when everything all is said and done, when we're posed with, how are the children and families? The children and families are well. Thank you.
Good evening, Chair Robinson, Vice Chair Warden, Board Members, Superintendent Dr. Edmonds, and District staff. I am Principal Felicia Moore from Elizabeth City Middle School, and so I will present what social emotional learning looks like at the school level. So in 2018-19 school year, we started our partnership with the North Carolina Resilience and Learning Project. At that time, we were in the second phase because in the first year, they started with Pasquotank Elementary School and River Road Middle School. And so the second year, Elizabeth City Middle School and P.W. Moore were brought on. Their focus begins with staff wellness, relationships, structure, routine and expectations, self-regulation skills, and social emotional learning, along with mental health support and crisis planning. And so with the help of Ms. Shonda Battle, we were able to determine how we wanted to frame this work in 3 phases. And so in phase 1, we began with the trauma-informed school training for our staff. And one of the first projects that we did was the ACEs survey. Teachers were not required or staff was not required to participate. So only staff members that wanted to participate participated. And it was a wow moment. Some of the questions that they asked really dug up a lot of deep trauma for some staff that we were not prepared for, and had to get some assistance with some mental health for some adults. We had some staff members that worked with at the prison when they had the riots. So it's just different issues. And so we played out that ACEs survey with an activity where we switched papers. So you were representing a staff member. And it was a wow moment to see that you were representing people that had some severe trauma. However, they had overcome those experiences or not, and educators, and we realized that our students are going through some of that same trauma right now. So Shonda Battle started her training with our restorative facilitator, the instructional coach, and both administrators, myself and the assistant principal. And so we started with, what will social emotional learning look like for Elizabeth City Middle School? So in our phase 2, social emotional learning began more with the staff. That was our August 2019 and March 2020, I say, because at that point is when we went out for COVID. So administrators, instructional coach, restorative facilitator, we planned the activities and lessons for the staff. And so some of those events included staff outings at the Dismal Swamp. They went canoeing as a team. We do all staff morning meetings. It's just a morning check-in. How are you? We do our celebrations. We do our shout outs to tell people thank you, not wanting to wait. But it was also wonderful for us because we knew every single person's name in our building, which is important. Sometimes when you get to middle school and high school, you work in silos, and so you don't get to know all of the people in your building. this allowed an opportunity for us to know everyone. We included cafeteria staff, custodians, and so we all knew each other's first name and something about each other's families. In phase 3, we have our social emotional learning for our students, which started November 2019 and continues to go on. Some of those activities include Town South Church, our partnership with them, and we have a group called The Other Kids. We have restorative circles, which is embedded in our discipline practices. So when our students are having some of our minor infractions, which sometimes include fighting or confrontation, we allow them time to get into restorative circles, to talk about how their behavior impacts the other or misconceptions. We have done this with teachers and students. We've done this with teachers and teachers. We've done this with parents and parents. And it has really changed the way that people view each other. Because when you're upset with a parent that you don't know, thinking that's the way they allow their child to behave, it is different when you're sitting across from them and having a conversation. We also have our mentor groups, our young gentleman and our sister. Teachers are required to do at least at a minimum 1 weekly lesson on social emotional. There are some teachers that have it every single day. The biggest part for this was for us with our summer jumpstart, when we had selected students that we were going to use through our summer jumpstart program that were possibly going to be retained. We included the social emotional because what we wanted to do was begin to start teaching goal setting and to find out why they had disconnected from school, to be able to reconnect and get back on the right track. So we have had some wonderful success stories. One of those students is now our SGA president. So we are very proud of our social emotional learning. So what have been our positive outcomes? I am very proud to say that we only had 2 employees that did not return to Elizabeth City Middle School this year. We also had a decrease in discipline referrals, a decrease of the number of students repeating offenses, increase in student attendance. We had increase in staff attendance. Professional development for staff is ongoing, and they also requested, we have a team of teachers that will be going through the trauma-induced training next week. And so we have a total of about 12 teachers, and we're excited about that because they have requested that training. And then we have lots and lots and lots of student success stories. The picture that you see here is one of our events. We had our Welcome to Jamaica, our grand market event, where the staff and students celebrated and we transformed our gym into Jamaica. And the students were able to earn Jamaican bucks to be able to come and just have an experience. That is something that most students from this area will not go to Jamaica. So it was awesome for them to be able to have that cultural experience. So what are our takeaways from social emotional learning? That the partnership with our community is essential. We cannot do this work alone. So we do not have a problem with going out, and that partnership with our ministerial council, our businesses, successful business owners have been able to come in and be speakers. And they're not all college students. Some of them are high school students that are entrepreneurs. So we bring everybody that is a positive role model. Partnership with parents. Buy-in from the principal is vital. You cannot do this work if the principal is not sold on it. It has to go from top down. Start small and develop a 3-year plan. This is not something you want to force on your staff. You want to make sure that it's something that they will enjoy and see the benefit of joining. Also, our restorative facilitator is our SEL coach. And then our restorative practices have to be explained to the staff. So it's a culture change in asking a child, what is wrong with you and why? And so that culture change has changed. And so we are excited about social emotional learning at Elizabeth City Middle School. Are there any questions?
Principal Moore, will you share with the board what you did this summer
in terms of that jump start, I want to make sure they understand that that was from this past summer when students were actually out of school,
Yes,
well,
ma'am.
more virtual.
So we had Jump Start, and so in the morning, our students attended their reading classes, and in the afternoon, they had math. And in the middle of the day, they had their social emotional activity with Coach Jones. And so we had targeted areas. We talked about self-esteem. We talked about goal setting. They talked about building proper relationships, study habits, things that were going to make them successful. They checked in every single day. The first day, he always started off with music that they enjoyed and kind of got them just kind of moving and grooving. So that kind of gave them the buy-in, but it also gave an open and honest forum to allow the students to talk about how they felt. They shared about what were some of the reasons that they were not successful during the regular school year. And it opened up some ideas for us because some of the issues that children are dealing with are out of our control, but we needed to be able to find the resources from the community and from the school district to be able to support those students where we could not. It also helped us to understand that as professionals, we needed more training in the mental health area.
Thank you.
You're welcome. No other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. James Davis.
Chair Robinson, Dr. Robinson, Vice Chair Warden, Dr. Edmonds, and Board of Education members, good evening to you all. I want to just give some updates in some specific areas. I want to show you what we plan to roll out after the board meeting. That's the COVID dashboard. I'll get they're clicking on the link to show you what it looks like. And as you can see, it has for purposes of demonstration only. Well, there is actually a graph there. And so I'll just talk about it, what we're doing to be able to be as transparent as we can about whatever cases of COVID, positive cases that we're seeing in our schools with our students and with our staff. This is something that we'll be updating weekly, and we will have a link on our webpage. And again, you see numbers in here. Those numbers that you can see is just for the demonstration of, just so you can see what it looked like. I'll get them to scroll down. And so it will be reported by elementary, then we'll have a secondary, then we're gonna have, so right now, it look like it's showing some of the schools, but we're gonna report it in 3 ways, and that's gonna be, well, actually 4. It's gonna be elementary, then it's gonna be secondary, it's gonna be district offices and departments, and it's gonna give an overall for the district. And we're gonna, those numbers that you see will be a combination of students and staff. And those will be for those confirmed cases. And so you'll, there will be graphics on our webpage. Okay.
How often did you say?
Well, I update it regularly, but we'll change it on the website once a week. Mhm.
A certain day of the week, like on a
Monday.
Monday? On Monday.
Well, I think we had said by Thursday. I think it's the day that we said that we were gonna.
Each Thursday.
Mhm.
In addition to posting it on the dashboard, do you contact parents to let them know for example, if you have a child who's,
So we're working closely with the health department,
Mhm.
so we can't do the contact tracing because it is a matter of confidentiality HIPAA.
Okay.
And so if there's some contact tracing to be done, once we information, I then give it to the health department
and the health
representatives.
department
And-
handles it.
Yeah, and then they,
Okay,
right. They'll do the tracing, the necessary tracing.
okay.
And so that's what the spreadsheet, and again, that's for demonstration only. That's what it looks like. So I'll report it, whatever date that I'm giving it. I'll have a school site or district site. Then I'll have if it's a staff member, or if it's a student, then I'll have any other information, like if it's something that happened, for instance, if there was a birthday party with students, and then we find out from that one instant, if we, if we're able to know that it may be 4 students in that same class, and then we'll, just notes on the side for us. Now, that will not be on the dashboard. What you will see on the dashboard is that the graphic, the chart. So that's our COVID dashboard that we'll have just for transparency for our families. Now, I want to give you staffing updates. And so what we have here, we want to give you some information about, especially as some of our secondary students will be returning. Some of you may know that, some of the students can't take classes face to face because they may have their teachers out or something, and teaching remotely only. So here I have a breakdown of what that looks like. Elementary, we have a total of 174 certified staff members. That includes teachers, it may include guidance counselors or media coordinators, AIG teachers who are given like direct services to our students. And then, as you can see, there are 70 teacher assistants or paraprofessionals that are given those direct services as well. And so, of the certified staff, we have 18 who have requested to telework because of medical conditions. And so that's like 10.3% of our certified elementary staff who have requested to telework. And so for the teacher assistants at that elementary grade level, we have 16 who have turned in documentation to be able to continue to telework. And that's 22.8% of those. So in secondary, and that will be grades 6 through 12. The first elementary included pre-K through 5. So for secondary 6 through 12, we have approximately 166 certified staff, and it does, like I said, include media coordinators, guidance counselors as well. And so of the on the secondary level, we have 15 teacher assistants. And of those, the teacher assistants at that grade level may include teachers who are working in with the exceptional children's department, but it also may include some of the lab facilitators at the secondary schools. And of the certified staff, 45 have requested to telework so far, and that's 27.1%. And then the teacher assistants at that grade level, we have 2, or 13.3%. Any questions about that? So no questions. I'm gonna have, well, I guess it's okay for me to announce Miss Amanda Hill, who recently got married. So she was King, so now she's Miss Hill. Miss Hill will give an update on our transportation, and then followed by Ms. Tammy Reinhardt, who is our Director of Child Nutrition, will follow.
Good evening, Chair Robinson, Vice Chair Warden, Superintendent Edmonds and board members. I hope you all are doing well. I will have to say our very first week of school went off pretty well. We have 29 regular buses. We have 5 EC buses running. Right now, we're not doing any double runs. And our average route time is around 45 minutes to an hour. Some are even shorter than that. We have the drivers and monitors that are on certain buses cleaning between runs as we prepare for middle school to come in next week. I'm still finishing up those routes as we speak. And I think things are going pretty well right now. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Hill. Now,
Thank you.
Ms. Reinhardt.
Good evening, Chair Dr. Robinson, Vice Chair Dr. Edmonds, and board members. I will say I was happy to hear about Ms. Moore's favorite lunch. It was the mandarin orange chicken and fried rice, and that's what we had today. So I was tickled. I hope she got to enjoy that. I will share with you that today we served 7,815 breakfasts and 8,243 lunches. That was a total of 16,058 meals that we served today. Out of that 16,058, right about 55% were for those children that are in virtual learning and children that are in the community that are not enrolled in schools as of now. Just under 50% then was our face-to-face children. So that was about a decrease. We've seen about a decrease this week of just over 7,000 meals. And I do think that that could be partly attributed to our EBT cards were distributed in the last weeks, and I think most of the community have received that now. So I do think that the last time we had that PEBT card distribution, our numbers went down as well. I am proposing, I requested with Dr. Edmonds that November 2nd, that we would move our Monday bulk meal distribution instead of having it at all school sites, that we would move that to our 2 high schools, Pasquotank High School and Northeast High School, and then include 1 elementary, perhaps Sheep Harney, for meal pickup, just because it's very difficult doing the meal distribution on Mondays and doing the in-class as well. It's the ladies are doing a great job, but it is difficult. It's a hard job to pack up meals and deliver those to the classrooms. It's going well, but we of course would work with the community, and if someone had a hardship, if it made a hardship moving those pickups to those 3 schools, we will work with those parents and those individuals individually to make sure that we feed those people, those children. One reason that we're wanting also to move that is the high schools. I'm not sure that the high schools will be doing the amount of food. I hope they do, but I'm thinking that they may not be feeding as many as our elementary and middles. And we have an opportunity for us to start doing the after-school snack program. And that could possibly transition into a supper program and an after-school snack program. So that would be in all of our schools, as well as the YMCA, the Boys and Girls Club, and Girls Inc., with our partnerships there. But we're really excited about the possibility of doing this. I think it's a win-win. Is there any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Reinhardt.
Thank you.
The Chair Robinson, Vice Chair Warden, and board members, that concludes the superintendent's report. And I put this slide because I did not want to forget to thank our community partners. We had the student body president from Elizabeth City State University and some of the officers that were at one of our schools holding up the sign. It was a large sign that said, "Welcome back" to the students. And so I wanted to thank those community partners for their support. And I, along with Ms. James Davis, can take any questions that you may have at this point. But that concludes the superintendent's report.
Any questions for the superintendent and board? If not, thank you, Superintendent Evans, to you and your staff for just an amazing start back to school. And you know that next week is going to be just as good.
We are looking
Thank you.
forward to it.
When we came out of closed session, I failed to ask for a motion to approve or not approve those items that were discussed in closed session. I'll entertain that motion now. Been properly moved and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye according to roll call.
Sharon Warden. George Archuleta.
Aye.
Virginia Houston.
Aye.
Walter Jolly.
Aye.
Pam Pereza. Dr. Sheila Williams. Aye. Thank you.
Thank you. The motion carries. Our next agenda item is our September 28th, 2020 approval of our minutes. We need a motion to approve those minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes for September 28th, 2020. I'll second that.
It's been properly moved and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye or nay according to roll call.
Sharon Warden. George Archuleta.
Aye.
Virginia Houston.
Aye.
Walter Jolly.
Aye.
Pam Pereza. Dr. Sheila Williams.
Thank you. The motion carries. It's my understanding that we have no citizen comments to the board this evening. Great, thank you. I just would want to say that we've got a week left of early voting. So for those of you who have just exercised your constitutional right and privilege by voting, thank you. For those of you who have not voted, you've got through the weekend, and then we vote again, or the real voting is on the 3rd of November. So if you haven't voted, you still have time, and we just thank you for all of that. Our first committee report, Sharon Warden for your financial, business, and technology systems. Ms. Warden.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson. We have a packet for our maintenance and roof reports, our capital projects update from Ms. Rhonda James Davis. If you have an opportunity to look over those, and if you have any questions, she will entertain those at this time. Are there any questions about any of that? Okay, we're going to move on and turn it over to our Chief Finance Officer, Rachel Haynes.
Chair Robinson, Vice Chair Warden, Superintendent Edmonds, board members, good evening. Committee Chair Warden, Finance has several items on the agenda this evening. Following the order of attachments, we have FBT 0202, which is the Finance Quarterly Report and is for informational purposes. The first page is the Finance Dashboard. The graph at the top is the revenue by funding source. The next two graphs are the budget by purpose code, which is the level at which the budget is approved by the board, and the budget by object code, which is the type of expense. The graphs at the bottom is the actual expenses by purpose code and object code. And the next page is the breakdown of expenses by fund. So we are 21% and 27% spent in funds 1 and 2, our state and local fund. And since we're about a quarter way through the year, we are on track. The next page we wanted to provide to you is a list of the coronavirus relief funds that the state has allocated to us. There's a column that shows you what has been spent, what's remaining, and a description of what the fund can be used for. Following that page that kind of goes in conjunction with it is the monthly report that we send to DPI that they report to the Office of the State Budget and Management. I know it's kind of small, but we want to get it on one page just as it's submitted. The yellow column is the metric that DPI and OSPM have requested we report, and the report is cumulative beginning with August. We just think it provides an interesting way to look at the data. The report, like I said, that you have right now is August and September, and some of the numbers may show 0 at this month, but on the previous page you see that expenses have taken place, but those expenses were in October. So when we provide you the October dashboard report or OSPM report, then you should see those numbers change. The next page is the capital budget for 2020-2021, and it accompanies the detailed report that Ms. James Davis and Ms. Wilkins have provided. So are there any questions on those reports? Attachment FBT 03 is for informational purposes. It's the build and rental report. We've had one rental at Pasquotank County High School for a blood drive that was conducted by the American Red Cross. Are there any questions on rentals? The next 4 attachments do require action. FBT 04 are the budget amendments. The first one in your packet, number 101, is the state public fund and is an increase to the budget of $278,536. The increase is for the school resource officer safety grant, school connectivity fund, and coronavirus relief funds and school technology. Amendment number 301 is for federal grants, and it's a request to increase the budget by $1,460,528.84. This establishes initial budgets for McKinney-Vento and the IDEA grant. Budget amendment number 401 is capital outlay, and it's a decrease of $40,502.50. 2 projects that we had rolled the remaining amounts forward, the Northside Elementary HVAC and the Sheep Farming mini splits, were completed last year. They are not a part of the school choice, and the remaining amounts did not roll forward. Budget amendment number 801 is the local special revenue fund, and it's an increase in the budget of $2,660,406.43 to budget the funds in Fund 8 to the PRCs in the attached list. Because it's so many, we listed them out on the attached page. So are there any questions on budget amendments? Ms. Gordon, Chair Ward, would you like us to approve these separately, or did you want me to?
Let's approve them separately. So at this time, I'd like a motion to approve FBT 04-04 budget amendments 101, 301, 401, and 801. I would like to make a motion that we approve FBT-04, budget amendment number 101, 301, 401, and 801. Can I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, Tammy, can I get a roll call? Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, thank you. Rachel?
For policy 4600, all student fees are to be approved by the board. We're still collecting school level fees. However, we'd like to request approval for the district-wide technology fee tonight. Attachment FBT 05 is the schedule of fees that will be posted on the website if approved this evening. Are there any questions about the technology fee?
The technology fee is to be paid by everyone.
It's optional.
I saw that optional. So,
You can request a waiver of the fee.
okay. And you would make that request with the district? All right. So I move that we approve FBT-05, the schedule of fees.
Second.
Can we have a roll call, please? Aye.
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 On Wednesday, October 7th at 10:30 a.m., bids were open for the HL Trig HVAC project. We had 3 vendors that responded. The lowest responsive bidder was Carolina Commercial Systems with a bid amount of $278,029. Attachment FBT 06 is a copy of the bid tabulation. Maintenance and Finance request approval to award the bid to Carolina Commercial Systems. Are there any questions?
Okay, I move that we accept the bid that was presented by Carolina Commercial Systems for the HVAC and electrical renovation project at HL Trig. Need a second? Roll call, please. Aye.
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 Aye. And now we're going to move on to FBT 07, school fundraisers.
The last attachment, FBT 07, is the list of fundraiser requests that we have received to date. Approval for these fundraisers are pending district administration of their fundraising plan. We request that they be approved at this time.
Are there any questions about any of these from anyone? Okay. I move that we take action on these fundraisers as proposed, dependent upon plans and proposals being in place, as well as having full approval by the district administration. I need a second on that motion.
Second.
And a roll call for the vote. Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, that concludes the finance report. If there are no other questions, we may move on, Dr. Robinson. Thank you.
Alrighty. Thank you. Thank you. Committee Chair Warden. Every year, we attend the North Carolina School Board Association conference. That conference this year is virtual, and it begins on November 4th through November 7th. Because of the size of our budget, we have 4 delegates plus 1 alternate. And the delegates would meet on November 4th, Wednesday, at from 3 to 3:30 for the business meeting, or the delegates meeting. So we need those 4 delegates there, as well as they will then meet again on January 7th, 2021. So what I need is volunteers to be those 4 delegates plus one alternate. Is there anyone that would like to volunteer to be a delegate? Excellent. Excellent. We have our one alternate. Perfect. Now we just need 4 delegates.
1, 2, 3, 4. You got 1, 2, 3.
I can't, it's on a Wednesday. It's from 3 to 3:30.
Yes.
And I'm already obligated for something that day, so I
Okay.
wouldn't be able to attend.
Okay.
I'll get back with you.
Okay.
I guess I will.
Okay. All right. Virginia's in.
I have a job.
Sheila was
Jo-
in.
Sheila's halfway in. She's checking. George is out. George, a working man. Okay. All right. Well, I'm in for 3:30, 3 to 3:30 on the 4th. Okay. We've got 2.5, maybe 3, maybe 4. Great. So we've got time between now and then.
I might be able to work. Go ahead and put me down.
Okay.
I'll make some arrangements
All
that
right,
are
we
different.
appreciate you.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll put Dr. Williams, who's leaning. So, gonna have a vote by the board. We have to take action on this to approve those people who have said they will and those people who have said they will think about it. Need a motion to that effect, that we have our 3 or 4 delegates and alternates.
I move that we accept the tentative delegate
Okay, all right, that works.
for the conference and alternate.
Fantastic. Need a second?
I'll second.
I don't even want you to discuss this. We'll just move on. All those in favor of the motion say aye according to roll call.
Sharon Warden, George Archuleta,
Aye.
Virginia Houston,
Aye.
Walter Jolly,
Aye.
Pam Pereza, Sheila Williams. Aye. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your support. Ms. Virginia Houston, Committee Chair for Global Citizens and Healthy Students.
We have, who will be presenting for us on immunization deadline update, Dr. Amy Spencer, Chief Academic Officer.
Good evening, Board Chair Robinson, Vice Chair Warden, Committee Chair Houston, Dr. Edmonds, board members, staff, and parents. I come before you this evening to present an update on immunizations and health assessments for the district. I would like to thank the team of nurses, Dr. Holly Glenn, and Nurse Sandy Young for providing the most current data from the schools. Pursuant to General Statute 130A-155, no child shall attend a school pre-K through 12, whether public, private, religious, or a child care facility, unless a certificate of immunization indicating that the child has received the immunizations is presented to the school or facility. The following slide shows the required immunizations for students. In typical years, the immunizations and health assessments were required within 30 days of the start of school. On August 11th, Governor Roy Cooper issued an executive order and the state health director issued a memorandum for the 2020-2021 school year that temporarily suspended the immunization requirements until October 1st with a 30 calendar day grace period. That grace period ends this Friday. What does this mean? If a student does not have the appropriate documentation by Friday, October 30th, the student will have to be excluded from school, including in-person and remote learning, until compliant with the requirements. The state health director's memo and governor's executive order delayed but did not waive documentation deadlines for immunization and health assessment requirements. This delay provided additional time for parents to, in the event they had limited access to healthcare facilities or experienced disruptions in appointments as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. While most students have returned the necessary documentation, as you see in this table, we still have some students who need to submit the required documentation. The low number of students needing the documentation is a reflection of the diligent work of the school nurses in conjunction with school staff. There have been emails, phone calls, social media posts, parent square posts, and the superintendent's community updates to communicate to parents and ensure all students have the required documentation and are in compliance. We, as a district, want to make sure that all of our students can attend school in person and remotely, and that we do not have to exclude a student from school for not having the required immunization record and health assessment. To that end, we have asked principals to reach out one additional time and to make a personal phone call to those parents who still need to return the required documentation for their child. Parents can submit the documentation using Scribbles. The site can be reached on our district webpage, and the directions on how to submit the documentation are on this slide. This concludes my update on immunizations and health assessments.
Are there any questions? Thank you, Dr. Spencer.
Thank you.
And now we'll have an update on the athletic fall sports approval. Dr. Edmonds.
Chair Robinson, Vice Chair Warden, and board members. I'm coming before you this evening to give an update on where we are with high school athletics and also to ask your approval for a recommendation as well. On June 12th, 2020, the Board of Education approved to allow high school athletes to participate in athletics as outlined by the North Carolina High School Athletics Association. And the slide that you have before you is language directly from the North Carolina High School Athletic Association website. And when the governor moved North Carolina to phase 2.5 on Friday, September the 4th, the North Carolina High School Athletic Association made some recommendations to school districts. Of course, with that, those recommendations and that guidance, it left some of the decision-making at the school district level with the Board of Education. And some of the things that we've been a part of to this point is there have been statewide surveys to see which districts would participate in high school athletics if it were available, what schools are still in remote status versus which schools are in Plan B or those that are in Plan A. We most recently received a regional survey to see if our students, if our athletes would be able to participate and compete in 3 areas, which is volleyball, cross country, and swimming. So Ms. James Davis, our Chief Human Resources Officer, and I have been meeting with our principals, athletic directors, assistant principals as well on a weekly basis to make sure that we stay on top of any guidance that is coming out. So we did not meet with them today because we knew we had a board meeting, so we will meet with them tomorrow morning. Some of the support that we are receiving, Dr. Jared Miller, who is an orthopedic and sports medicine specialist, he has developed a plan to help our athletes return to play in a very safe manner.
And that work will be with the direction, under the direction of our sports trainer. He's asked to make a presentation to the Board of Education. He could not be here this evening to make that presentation, but him, Dr. Jared Miller, in collaboration with our local health department, will take some of that, those safety protocols to make sure and be that not necessarily compliance person, but have that sports trainer there to help assist us and our coaches as we are, if we are able to move forward. So the next slide, the next two slides are pretty small, but these are calendars that came off of the North Carolina High School Athletic Association website. And some of those things were talked about, how they rescheduled the different sports. So if you typically, we would have football in the fall. Well, football has now been pushed and that's on the next one. But for the fall season, we now have cross country, volleyball, swimming, and diving. And those are the three that I'm asking for approval for tonight. Now for the sports that will be in the spring, like basketball, soccer, football, lacrosse, golf, and any sport that would be in the spring session, I'm asking approval to put our name on the list to compete, but we would come back to the board to look at the COVID trends at that time to see if we would actually participate. So if we go to the next slide. Well, okay. This is the request that I'm asking for the board is the one to allow our athletes, and this would be voluntary. I don't want our coaches to make it mandatory for every student. If the parents don't feel comfortable, I want them to have that option to say, my child will not participate and my child will not be penalized for not participating. So, but I do want to allow an opportunity for those parents who do want their students to participate to have that option. And so we would make that very clear with our staff, with our principals and athletic directors, that there should not be any negative action toward any student whose parent says they are not comfortable with them participating. And so, one, to allow our Elizabeth City Pasquotank Public Schools athletes to participate and compete in cross-country, volleyball, and swimming, and to allow district administration to put our name on the list for participating in spring sports. And district administration will come back to the Board of Ed prior to the start of spring sports to seek approval to participate or compete based on COVID trends at that time.
So are you ready for the motion?
I'm just curious, is there any kind of waiver or anything? I mean, are they gonna fill out a form, the parents, as far as the ones that actually participate?
Yeah, and that will be done, all of that work will be done at the school level. So what they would typically do for sports would still move forward. But if you're asking for a waiver to say if my child were to contract COVID, and I don't know if I'm reading too much into your question.
Well, just something, that the parent just says, yeah, my kid will participate. We know what's going on.
Yes, we will definitely make sure that that happens at the school level.
Are there any other questions or comments?
I've got a question about, because I remember we approved prior to tonight for conditioning to begin.
Yes.
Has that been going on at
So,
the school?
So no, it has not. And each school submitted a plan to district administration. It was approved and it was put on our website. And we became aware, we being Ms. James Davis and myself, became aware that the conditioning was not happening. And one of the reasons that was given was that the athletes were not showing up.
So you're saying that we approved it
Yes.
and it was made available,
Yeah.
it was made available to them,
Yes.
but the students were not showing up.
That's what was shared with Ms. James Davis and me from the athletic directors and the principals during our meeting. But yes, the board did, and the plans are still on our website. So families can access those plans from the website.
It seemed like it was, go ahead, sorry.
No, I'm just thinking, I'm sure you have some concerned parents who may expect their children to be conditioning or not. I mean, because it didn't come back to the board that this was not occurring, so. How is that being handled? Or
Yeah, so as we've been meeting with the principals and the athletic directors, some of the reasons that they've given us, because typically if athletes are given an opportunity to participate, typically they do. And it was shared with us that there were different reasons of why the students were not participating. Some was a lack of interest because they couldn't do the regular practicing that they would do versus the conditioning, that some were choosing to do their conditioning at home. Some said that transportation was an issue. So we were given different reasons of why.
so for clarity, let's just take one school, for example. So you have some who can not participate. Does that mean that all of them? So that means that it has been canceled? Or you have some conditioning and some not?
No, from my understanding, there are no students
None.
conditioning.
Okay.
But as I've shared, the board did approve and the district level administration did follow through and get the plans and they are posted. So the opportunity is there.
Because I think it was in June when we approved this, and
Yeah.
Mhm.
it seemed to me that during the summer, there were some concerns about the heat index and not wanting to have young people out, so they canceled those. So I'm wondering if, once we start the high school back, in that there's the one block course per day, if after school, if they're already there, if that will encourage people to start training and conditioning.
And that was one of the strategies that we shared, is to reach out to your athletes to ensure that they are in those classes, that they're taking that one block per day. And if they are not, if their class isn't offered, then maybe there's a way to set up a classroom where you can put your athletes in socially distanced and sanitizing and all of the safety protocols in place, but they can have their classes from the classroom. And that way, when school lets out, that transportation wouldn't be an issue. It would be the same as a regular school year.
Are there other questions or comments? Can I get a motion to approve?
I make a motion for Ms. Jolly, I'm sorry.
Make a motion that we approve.
A second.
I'll second.
All those who approve by roll call.
Aaron Warden, George Archuleta,
Aye.
Virginia Houston,
Aye.
Walter Dolly,
Aye.
Pam Pereza, Dr. Moore.
Aye. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Dr. Robinson, that completes my report.
Thank you very much, Committee Chair, Ms. Virginia Houston. Thank you. Yes. Any other questions? Thank you. Mr. Jolly, Chairman of our Policy Committee.
We'd like to call the attention to the Tammy W. Sawyer, Director, Committee, Superintendent, Executive Assistant to the Superintendent and the Board of Education. Good luck. She's got a handful.
Good evening, Chair Robinson, Vice Chair Warden, Superintendent Edmonds, and board members. I come before you this evening to request the board approve the following policy updates as recommended by the North Carolina School Boards Association. These policies were presented during the September meeting for your review and consideration. Policies include 1320-3560, Title I Parent and Family Engagement, 3102, Online Instruction, 3405, Students at Risk of Academic Failure, 3470/4305, Alternative Learning Programs, Schools, 4110, Immunization and Health Requirements for School Admission, 4120, Domicile or Residence Requirements, 5040, News Media Relations, 7360/8225, Crown Funding on behalf of the school system, 7805, Superintendent Evaluation, and 8350, Fixed Assets Inventory. Dr. Robinson, Mr. Jolly, do you want me to continue with the action items, or do you want to take them?
Did you say the credit recovery?
I was going to do that next. Do you want to include that now?
Unless you want to wait.
No, we can do it all.
Okay.
I further request that policy code 3420/R for credit recovery be rescinded by the board as it was intended as an administrative regulation for informational purposes only. Once we receive approval to rescind the regulation as policy, it will be reissued by Superintendent Edmonds as an administrative regulation.
Any questions particularly about that one? All the other ones that are for action, we saw a month ago. So it's just bringing back to us for action. Is there any further discussion or question on any of them? If not, then we'll entertain a motion to accept all of them. Or do not accept all of them.
And we have those all extended also on the back page.
So those are,
Yeah,
those are before review.
Okay,
These are the only action items right now.
thank you.
I move that we approve all of the policy action items that we'll put on review in September. We voted on today.
I'll second that.
It's been properly moved in second. Any further discussion on the action items? Hearing none, all those in favor of the action items as brought forth, please say aye or nay according to our roll call.
Sharon Warden. George Archuleta.
Aye.
Virginia Houston.
Aye.
Walter Jolly.
Aye.
Pam Pereza. Dr. Sheila Williams. Aye. Thank you.
All right. Back to you, Mr. Johnson. Which really goes back to the story.
Want me to continue, Mr. Jolly?
Okay.
Okay. The following policy updates are presented this evening for review and consideration by the board for approval at the November meeting of the board. The policy updates are recommended by the North Carolina School Boards Association. They include Policy Code 3610, Counseling Program, 4152, Unsafe School Choice Transfer, 4325, Drugs and Alcohol, 6306, School Bus Idling, 6325, Parking Areas for Students, 7240, Drug-Free and Alcohol-Free Workplace, 7241, Drug and Alcohol Testing of Commercial Motor Vehicle Operators, 7500, Workday and Overtime, 7505, Compliance with State Board of Education Employment Policies, 7510, Leave, 7540, Voluntary Shared Leave, and 7900, Resignation. And that concludes the policy request and updates for this evening.
Any questions on anything? You'll be seeing this again next month for action. No questions. Thank you, Mr. Jolly. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Tammy.
Our last committee report is from Pam Perezza. We, I think, voted on that earlier as we came out of closed session. Any further discussion on excellent educators? Thank you. Any board member reports? Any board members want to make any comments or statements?
I just want to say I've been seeing some really good things on our school Facebook page, various things that are going on in the schools for our CTE programs as well, robotics, and other things. Just want to give a shout out to all the teachers that I know they're working extremely hard, and we appreciate it. And just plead with you to be safe and continue working with your students each and every day. Also want to give a shout out to all our school leaders, our principals. This is their month. And I've enjoyed reading about each one of them and their various accomplishments. And we're extremely proud to have them as part of our school system, and appreciate all the very difficult work and decisions that they all have made during this particular time. Also want to remind everyone of this. This is also a very special month in that it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We have many survivors. We have many who are still fighting, struggling with the fight, and we have some who lost their battle. But we will continue to acknowledge that those, and just wanted to give a shout out for that as well. And also, as Dr. Robinson said, we have a very, very important day coming up. If you have not voted yet, you have early voting is still open. So until I think Saturday is the last day. So if you've not exercised your right, please do so. And if you're waiting till the election day, just make sure your voice and your vote is heard. It's extremely important. So just wanted to say those things. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ward.
And I'd like to share my appreciation for the 3 principals who allowed me to come into their schools and were very gracious. And I got an opportunity in all 3 schools to visit every classroom. And for me, and I said it to them many times, it was just rewarding to see what was going on and to see that the children appeared to be happy and they were doing things that would keep them safe. And the principals themselves were very happy with the way things were going and highly complimented their teachers for the fine job that they were doing. And I personally agreed with them for the time that I spent in the classroom. It was just a wonderful experience. It really was.
Thank you, Ms. Houston.
I'd like to say this much. We have an outstanding leader. Let's all get out there and let's start pushing at the polls for his election. I want to see him back in here next year, and the year after that, and the year after that, and the year after that, and the year after that.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Let's go push for that 4-year term for him.
We appreciate that. Anyone else?
Yes, Dr. Robinson, I'd like to, as Miss Houston and Miss Sharon has said, our teachers are the heroes in all this. They are the ones that are carrying us. Them and the principals, are doing an excellent job in every school. And I want to thank them. That's already been said. And I don't want to be repetitive on that. But I do want to say, I do feel this community has lost a great man. They don't know about him. You all probably don't even know him. But I know what he did behind the scenes to help kids. Anytime there was a fundraiser, anytime that I went to him, for certain things for any student, he was there. His name was Bill Felton. And he passed in a tragic accident. And I know he has nothing to do. He's not an educator. He's just a simple man that I worked with for 25 years, I would say it was. And I know what he meant as far as giving to students and what he did. It was all behind the scenes. He was never wanted to know he did it. But I want to give out a shout out to someone like him.
Thank you. Very important. I appreciate it. Anyone else? Any other board members?
I just want to say that I know we thank the teachers and the principals, and they have done a phenomenal job. But I also want to thank our students and ask them to keep up the good work. I know this is difficult. It's difficult for us to keep the masks on all day. And I think that the students are trying, and we want you to know that we see you, and we also appreciate you and your patience in knowing that this time is temporary. So for the support that you get from the principals and the teachers and for all what they are doing, we also appreciate you.
Thank you.
I want to thank Dr. Evans and her team for just the leadership that they have shown. We have some counties who are looking at us to see what we're doing, and then they're following our lead. So that's been very good to have that. So Dr. Evans, to you and your team, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And last but not least, I have a grandson that's in kindergarten and a granddaughter that's in second grade. And I have been the last 2 or 3 weeks working with them on their work. Not so much with my second grader, but a lot with my kindergartner. And I've gotten really good with kindergarten work. Just wanted you to know. Right, so if you need a sub for kindergarten, I can do this. But I want to acknowledge the parents, the guardians, the grandparents who've been behind the scenes, sitting off on the side of the camera so they won't be seen. But I want to thank them for all that they have done. This has not been easy for people who are trying to work from home but still help their children. It's not an easy task. So I just want to just openly and outwardly thank you for the work that you have done and continue to do. So we appreciate you for that as well. So just thank you for all of what's going on in our system, in our district. Anyone else? Anything else? Anything else before we adjourn? Entertain a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Properly moved and second. No discussion. All those in favor say aye according to roll call.
Ah.
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Aye.
Aye.
This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.
Mr. Johnson said you just dismissed it, but I'm not majority.